In this week's presentation for the period July 19 to 26, 2013, the importance of the Amaila Falls Hydropower project is underscored. More visitor arrivals have been recorded for Guyana, and Cuban-trained Guyanese are back home to serve the health sector. The importance of the Amaila Falls Hydropower project and the impact it will have on Guyanese and the country's advancement were highlighted to a large gathering at a consultation at the Guyana International Conference Center.
Forum representatives from the private sector, religious bodies, government agencies and civil society engaged in open and frank discussions about the $840 million Amalia Falls hydropower project.
Using heavy fuel oil, generation costs at today's prices for fuel, petroleum comes in at 25 cents per kilowatt hour, and using diesel in the smaller engines, half a megawatt to 3 megawatts, say, it comes in between 30 to 37 cents a kilowatt hour. And that, in spite of all that is said, that is not better in our particular circumstances. The conversion rates are standard for what the equipment manufacturers have attained. It's not, at this moment, we can't better those generation costs. Amaila holds the possibility, and the documents we have written up with Amaila, in spite of the high cost, it comes in at no more than 12 cents per kilowatt hour. So that is what we've been aiming for. That is what our country will lose if we don't go forward.
Housing Minister Irfan Ali held firmly to the view that there is national consensus on the project, as it is an issue that has attracted the attention of all past presidents of Guyana, as well as the manifestos of political parties.
If there is one project that has built-in national consensus, built-in national support, it is this project. And that support is not because of any political party or any government. That support is based on a proper and thorough analysis of the economic realities and economic benefits that can be derived out of this investment. If you look at the cost savings that Guyana would derive from this project, it far outweighs the annual repayment for the project.
According to the International Monetary Fund, the Amalia project will save residential, commercial and industrial GPL consumers approximately $3.5 billion over a 20-year period. It will also save the country over $90 million on fuel importation.
Meanwhile, the Amaila Falls Hydropower project's access road is more than 67% completed, and during a recent media tour, the importance of the project that has been largely supported by several sections of society and the private sector was underscored.
Members of the local media welcomed the tour of the proposed Amalia Falls hydropower project and the access road leading to the site recently. The Amalia hydropower project involves the construction of a hydropower plant in the area of west central Guyana where the Amalia and Corribrong rivers meet. Electricity produced at this plant will be delivered to the capital city, Georgetown, and its second largest town, Linden, via an electric transmission line. Roadworks leading to the site are 67% complete and on track thus far to meet the projected deadline of December 31st, 2013.
What it means with respect to domestic utilization and costs of electricity, that is the availability and the price at which you pay for it. If you knock 40% off the light bill, one would think that it's significant. If I was paying $10,000 light bill and I'm suddenly paying $6,000, it's a big move. And also to the question of onward future investment into the country, both from overseas and from the Guyanese diaspora, who have also been invested in the country. And the critical part for Guyana at this moment is via this project with respect to transformational projects. Amaila is a critical part. Getting Amaila done is a critical part and a critical activity, and we are here at this point.
Government is optimistic about all stakeholders eventually coming on board and having a clear understanding of the hydropower project's importance to Guyana's future development.
Increased visitor arrivals to Guyana have been recorded due to more initiatives implemented by the Guyana Tourism Authority. The majority of arrivals were primarily from the United States, followed by Canada, Europe, Caribbean, South and Central America, and the rest of the world. The Tourism Authority has claimed responsibility for the increased arrivals through its Rediscover Home initiative, which aggressively encourages Guyanese living abroad to come back home to spend time in Guyana for their vacation, to retire, or to invest. While Delta and Redjet Airlines exited the market, Caribbean Airlines picked up the slack, moving up from 50% to 100% load factor. Further boosting visitor arrival figures is the fact that starting this year, the GTA will commence to collect data on arrivals from the various points of entry into Guyana, as well as the Chedijagan International Airport. The other points include the Ogle International Airport, Lethem, Molson Creek, and Bartica. There are also other contributing factors, including the improvement in airlift, lower airfares, new direct routes from Miami, Canada, New York, and Trinidad and Tobago to Guyana, successful hosting of tourism events, concerts, celebrity entertainers who have been in Guyana throughout the year, the expanded sales distribution network worldwide of Destination Guyana, and more Guyanese discovering the positive development in the country. Regional flights to and from Guyana have become easier with the inauguration of LIAT's service from the Ogle International Airport.
The fully booked 50-seater Dash 8 aircraft landed on July 22. The commissioning of regional flights at Ogle will provide fast and direct travel to countries within the region such as Brazil, Venezuela, Suriname, French Guiana, and even further afield.
We are aware that just now we are having in South America, in Brazil, our neighbor, two significant activities coming up. Those are the World Cup next year and then the Olympic Games. And one of the bugbears of our region in terms of being able to meet, communicate, relate, buy and sell to each other, propel each other's development synergistically has been the problem of regional flights, regional connections through flights. So not only are we resolving the problem with respect to Ogle and the Caribbean region, but we are also laying the basis, the foundation for reaching further afield into South America with these types of aircraft to northern Brazil, eastwards towards Venezuela, and also westwards towards Venezuela, and eastwards towards Suriname and French Guiana.
This initiative is supported by both the government and private sector, which came together as a public-private partnership and was funded by the European Union. The CARICOM Secretariat has shown a great interest in this project, given its close proximity to the airport, making it a lot easier for members visiting for frequent business meetings. There's a 24-hour security camera system set up at the airport.
Ogle has learned from CGIA, and we will not make those basic mistakes. And we have a competent team of persons that will stem the tide of illegal narcotics and drugs. We have CANO, we have the police, and they are stakeholders here also. And we have a constant rapport and we share information.
Passengers who came on board the inaugural flight were happy with the level of service.
It came on time, which I'm happy for, and it came where I'm living. I'm living in Campbellville, so I just have a 5-minute drive. Smooth, no problem. Yes, I'm happy for this coming through from the islands, and I trust that the big aircrafts will be able to come here sometime in the near future.
The upgrade to the Ogle International Airport is part of the overall thrust to modernize Guyana.
More of the Weekly Digest after these messages. Stay tuned.
Guyana has received the much-deserving United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization FAO award for having attained the Millennium Development Goal number 1 and the goal set by the 1996 World Food Summit for halving the absolute number of hungry people by 2050. At an award ceremony in Italy, FAO's Director General Dr. Jose Grazio da Silva said that Guyana had achieved by year-end 2012, 3 years in advance, the target for the number of undernourished people. The government of Guyana has pledged to continue investing in agriculture, expanding safety nets and social assistance programs, along with enhancing income-generating activities to improve the food situation. This is testimony to the efforts of the government to ensure a better life for all Guyanese.
About 190,000 students stand to benefit from government's school uniform program in 2013. Guyana is the only CARICOM country that is providing this form of assistance for its students to ensure all can access education. This initiative caters for students from nursery level to grade 11. The Housing Ministry is expanding its reach to all categories of workers. A 4-stage initiative has been implemented to create opportunities for working professionals from the clerical stage right up to high income. Homes are being offered for as low as $4.9 million. This is a part of the ministry's quest and firm determination to better living standards of all citizens, as government seeks to ensure all Guyanese are proud homeowners.
The Amaila Falls Hydropower project is the medium and long-term strategy for the country's electricity sector. It is where cheap and reliable energy will be derived for consumers both at the domestic and household levels. Guyana could become a nation taking the lead globally for renewable power and build investor confidence. Financial closure with the Inter-American Development Bank is within reach, and preparatory works on the long stretch of road to the Amaila Falls site have gone a far way. The support of all stakeholders is critical to the success of this important project.
Guyanese who access training in Cuba to be doctors are back home and are to be deployed around the country to serve for 5 years before accessing further training for upward mobility. Minister of Health Dr. Berry Ramsaran met with persons trained in medicine in Cuba to brief them on what to expect now that they are back home.
You will be deployed as graduate doctors across the country, right? And you will have that discussion as to where you're to go and so on, but the PSM most likely will be having a chat with you too. As I understand it, you know of your contractual obligations.
The minister also pointed out to the graduates that they would be required to complete their 5 years of service before they could access further scholarships to move ahead. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Shamdeo Prasad also briefed the medical graduates.
This is another phase for all of us in some way, and I think the support that we got, Ambassador, from Cuba in moving Guyana's health services forward, particularly with building this stronger cadre of medical doctors, is going to impact greatly, I'm sure, on better health for all Guyanese, and that's what we're looking forward to.
Hundreds of Cuban-trained Guyanese doctors have returned to Guyana after completing studies in Cuba in an effort to provide personnel to man the many new health institutions built by the government. Cuba has over the years been assisting Guyana by deploying doctors, nurses, and technicians to assist in healthcare delivery. Over 900 indigenous youths have been given the opportunity to acquire leadership skills under the government's new Youth Apprenticeship and Entrepreneurship Program, YAEP.
Through the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, the indigenous youths have been given the opportunity to better themselves and their communities through the implementation of the Youth Apprenticeship and Entrepreneurial Program. After its implementation in Regions 1, 7, 8, and 9, the program now caters for approximately 900 young men and women.
It is a project which the People's Progressive Party civic government believes in strongly. It is one which I believe the government continues to focus on, and that is to focus on the development of our young people. It is one which embraces the low-carbon development strategy. If you read the low carbon development strategy, you will find that it focuses on human development in a particular way, with particular focus and attention. And it was also the buzzword for all the presidents under the People's Progressive Party civic government.
I find this program very interesting and it is very educational. I think when I go back to my village, I think I should pursue most young people, because most of the time you find young people in our village, like they are shy, and it's hard to come to workshop like this, and it's fine I'm shy. And with this program that is going on here, I think I would pursue most of the young people to involve themselves in activities like this.
I feel good. I think it's a very interesting project, and then we come here to learn a lot, and I think it's very good.
The project targets youths between the ages of 18 and 40. They will participate in many areas of village development, such as education, health, tourism, and infrastructure. They are also expected to give support to the village council. It was first launched at Moruca Region 1, followed by Lethem Region 9, Upper Mazaruni Region 7, and Kato Region 8.
In keeping with its custom of assisting all groups to maintain their culture, the Culture Ministry recently assisted several African groups to celebrate emancipation.
Individual checks donated to 68 cultural African groups valued a total of $7.6 million, which have been a yearly venture by the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport.
Many interesting things that is happening this year, and we from the ministry, we hope that when you reflect on emancipation this year, that we give some thought to some of these other historic events that would have happened in our country. Earlier in this year, we also did a lecture series where we invited 3 distinguished scholars to come to Guyana and to talk to us. We had Professor Hilary Beckles, we had Professor Vereen Shepherd from Jamaica, and we had our own, who resides in Barbados, Professor Alvin Thompson. And all 3 of these distinguished professors were able to come from different perspectives to talk about slavery and what people would have endured during those periods.
Minister Anthony further expressed satisfaction working with the groups and will assist them as a means of promoting culture in the country. They were advised to do outreaches in various communities and to record and document experiences of their communities.
As we reflect, there's still a lot of work to be done. Education-wise, I think there's a lot of work to be done. And sometimes when you look at our history books in a lot of cases were written by people who have a different perspective of our history. And unless we start writing about ourselves and writing from our own perspectives, the history, our history, are being told by others who want to manipulate that history for their own purposes. So we have to start writing about ourselves, and books like what we have done, Hearing Slaves Speak and so forth, is a step in that direction.
The groups were urged to bring artifacts in their possession to the African Museum to enhance the collection at the institution.
During Cabinet's most recent meeting at the Office of the President, His Excellency President Donald Ramotar and ministers of the government discussed several issues of national concern. The media was subsequently briefed on Cabinet's deliberations.
Statutory meeting, Cabinet granted its no objection to 7 contracts in the areas of legal affairs, agriculture, education, security, and finance. Among the contracts approved includes one that caters for the supply of and the provision of consultancy services for the supervision of the construction of the Cato Secondary School Complex in Region Number 8. Government is of the position that the opposition leaders betrayed Guyana when they voted against the bill in motion dealing with the Amaila Falls hydroelectric project.
What on earth possess these 31 persons and these MPs, presumably in their right thinking minds, to make the decision, a decision that we're all familiar with? Actually, two decisions with which we're all familiar. How could their leaders, informed to the max, maximally informed, package that decision and present it as a viable option to their followers? Put the blame on all 31, but reserve the crown of ignominy for those leaders who selfishly betrayed Guyana.
Preliminary works are on the way for a commission of inquiry into the assassination of political activist and historian Dr. Walter Rodney.
The June 2013 declaration by President Ramatar of a Presidential Commission of Inquiry into Walter Rodney's assassination went a step further with the visit to Guyana of a board member of the Georgia base, specifically Atlanta, Walter Rodney's Foundation, and the subsequent decisions on the preparatory work that had been identified during the visit. It was agreed that the family court will house the office of the commission. Funds will be appropriated to resource the body, that's the commission, to discharge specific activities, many of which would commence now, even before the formal hearings of the commission. Such activities include the collection of data from the variety of sources that have historically been involved in review and judicial reviews, in some cases parliamentary review in others, of Dr. Rodney's assassination. Also, the elaboration of the TORs that would guide the commission, and of course, the identification and the appointment of the commissioners.
Meanwhile, a new facility is to be constructed for the National Frequency Management Unit at its current site in Lodge, Georgetown. An international telecommunication expert will be providing guidance to the National Frequency Management Unit in transitioning Guyana from analog to digital terrestrial television broadcasting.
The likely agenda for the visit would include the National Roadmap team, the representatives of the telecommunication and the broadcasting sectors in Guyana, and the ITU expert. And they would be meeting to examine policies, examine guidelines, and to do some primary elaboration of the likely details that would be applicable in the Guyana market as we transition from the analog system currently in use to the digital system that will replace that current system by the year 2015.
The expert will be in Guyana during the period July 29 to August 2 and will meet with the National Roadmap team and representatives of the telecommunication and the broadcasting sectors in Guyana.
And now for perspectives with Dr. Prem Mizir.
Today I want to present some views on the Amaila hydropower project, which is now the talk of the town in Guyana. Something as the Amaila hydropower project, of enormous benefit to Guyana, should not be treated as a political football, even if there are some procedural issues. Politicians should not exploit simple procedural matters to kill a project of national importance. The Amaila hydropower project is of immense national significance, and all and sundry, including opposition politicians, should come on board. Otherwise, they will face the wrath of history. What is the state of play if there is no hydropower project in Guyana? Guyana currently uses fossil fuel, which will continue to add to the thermal capacity at high capital and marginal operating costs. With constant soaring oil prices internationally, think about what electricity costs will be in the next few years in Guyana. What will it be like in Guyana in the next few years? With the Amaila hydropower project in place, Guyanese will begin to see some savings in operating costs. There will be reduced greenhouse gas emissions as a thermal plant may not be used, and there will be less dependence on imported fossil fuel. In 2011, the Amaila Environmental Social Impact Analysis concluded that non-hydroelectric options, such as wind, solar, biomass, and thermal power plants, provide less advantages than the Amaila hydropower project. And they arrived at this conclusion through reviewing factors as reliability of the energy source and operating and fixed costs. So alternatives to the Amaila hydropower project are not on. Studies were also conducted to identify the best site for the hydropower project. Again, the Environmental Social Impact Analysis in 2011, after looking at Amaila, Tortuga, Kaitshore, and the Upper Mazruni sand landing as possible sites, concluded that Amaila was the most suitable. Then there was the class report that reviewed the appropriateness of these 6 sites. These 6 sites were the Arisaru, Tortuga, Okoblu, Upper Mazaruni, Kaitshore, and Amaila. The class report concluded that Amaila was the most suitable site for the hydropower project, as the others had excess capacity to meet Guyana's needs. These studies recommended the Amaila hydropower project as the most suitable generation technology to meet Guyana's needs on the basis of technical, environmental, economic, and social factors, and also on the basis of longevity of the Amaila Falls energy source. I thank you very much.
And with those features, we have come to the end of this edition of Weekly Digest. But before we go, here's a recap of the highlights. The importance of the Amaila Falls hydropower project has been underscored. More visitor arrivals have been recorded for Guyana, and Cuban-trained Guyanese are back home to serve the health sector. Please note that the Weekly Digest and other Government Information Agency program can be found on our website www.gina.gov.gy, or you can send us your comments and suggestions at gina@gina.gov.gy. Join us again next week as we highlight more of government's programs and policies which continue to enhance the lives of Guyanese. I'm Ursula Ramleal. Stay tuned for your regular programming. Goodbye.